We're doing like the countdown right now, babe. All right, guys, we are live. This is UFC Vegas 100. You know, that's a big one. So pop the champagne. We're celebrating. My normal co-host not here, Ben. He couldn't handle facing me after the election. No, that's not true. But I'm your host. My name is Keith Shillan, filling in for Ben. He's become a usual. Some was saying he puts the takeover in the Sherdog takeover. He of course is the great Dayne Fox. Dayne, my man, How you doing, brother?
Doing really well. I do want to give forewarning to the audience. My wife is out right now, which means I'm watching my 3-year-old. So if she comes running in, proclaiming that she needs help with something, I apologize. But I've done the best I can to situate her. She's got Minnie and Mickey Mouse on. She's got her goldfish. She's got her favorite blankie, which, funny enough, at this point is a Mike Myers blankie from Halloween. So she's a little twisted that way, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, wanted to give a little heads up in case that arises. So my apologies in case.
I like you mentioned her like she's like a WF character. Like she comes out like she's gonna hit you with a chair and take over the show, like NWO style or something.
If she does, that would be absolutely awesome, and I would be one proud papa. But no, I just anticipate at some point the audience will hear "Daddy" somewhere in the background, and I'm taking full blame for that.
After the election, Ben's calling me daddy too. So let's. All right, that's it. No more political talk. There's enough people who are upset. I'm not one of them, but there's enough people that are upset. Let's get to the card. Shout out to all the people in the chat. A lot of the usuals in there. I'll try to get to as many of the chat as possible. Guys, me and Ben talked about this on the preview show. Not the best card on paper. Not a lot of matchmaking going forward. Not a lot like, can this guy, win a title? None of that's going on. That said, the card delivered. It was a good card. A lot of stoppages. Kind of put a at least a pause on the new gloves stop knockouts. Which I never believed anyways. You punch a guy with a little bit of leather in the face, you got to knock him out. But let's get right to it. Talk about knockouts. Main event. Grizzled veteran, kind of and I hate using the word gatekeeper because to me there's so many definitions. And then there's also like levels to gatekeepers. There's like, you beat this guy, you're gatekeeper to the title. You get this guy, you're gatekeeper to the top of the division, top 15 of the division. You got this guy, you beat him, you're a gatekeeper to get into the UFC and whatnot. So there's not a lot of definitions, but Neil Magny is one of those guys. He's an ultimate test. Like, you can beat Neil Magny, you're really good. Like, guys who aren't that good don't beat Neil Magny. You have to be good. You'd be really good to beat Neil Magny. He was the test for the new hot stuff on the scene. Carlos Prates, who's knocking out everybody. He's got 4 wins in the UFC now, and man, did he look good. He face planted Neil Magny. I mean, say what you want about Neil Magny and some people, I said on the previous show, I see a lot of decline and I expect the bottom to fall out on him. I didn't expect it like this. I mean, I picked Prates to win my first round knockout, so I should expect it, but people can beat Neil Magny. People don't starch Neil Magny. Talk to me about Carlos Prates.
Prates. He's basically come out of nowhere because I remember when I saw him on Contender Series, I thought that he looked like he could be a fun action fighter, but I didn't think he was going to go blazing up the rankings the way that he has. Reminds me very much of another Brazilian prospect that took the Contender Series route in Michael Morales. Just big, athletic, knows exactly what he's doing with his weapons. He's a little bit more he presses the action more than Morales, but he's got a little bit more veteran savvy with him too. I really liked how they highlighted his knockout of who was it that Charlie Radke early in the fight. They had a lot of time for the talking heads because of all the quick knockouts, and I thought that really demonstrated just how smart of a fighter that he is, because they were showing how he goes with the left and then he goes in with the knee basically at the same time, using the left to open it up for the knee, which is what really downed Radke. And I know we're supposed to be talking about what he did to Magny, but you want me to talk about Prates, and that's the type of fighter he is. He's a very intelligent striker, and it can be easy to forget that because he is an athletic freak, and he just lambasted Magny. Like you said, he did something nobody else has done. People have knocked out. I shouldn't say knocked out Magny. They've finished Magny.
Yeah,
but nobody's face planted him like that. That was impressive.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat and Fallon, and I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, is saying that Morales just starched Magny 2 months ago. I'm talking about Magny as a whole. I'm talking about his career the last 10 years. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's not what Magny is known for. So yeah, fair enough. I should have got a little more clearer. But let me ask you this question. And I've been many, many, many times been accused of living in the moment. It's more fun that way, especially for a recap show. Is Carlos Prates the best striker in the welterweight division? And if not, who's better than him? Let me give you some candidates. Let me give you some candidates because I know you weren't prepared for that question. Some of the candidates: Ian Gary, Michael Venom Page, Stephen Thompson. I'm talking simply striking. I'm not talking altogether. Who's better?
No, clearly. I think once upon a time, I do believe Thompson was. I don't believe that he is now. He's lost a step, and I think that was very clear with his loss to Buckley. Page is such a mixed bag. I mean, he's an explosive striker, but given that he lost what was largely a striking battle to Gary.
Oh, Gary got a lot of takedowns to that.
That's right. I was thinking of the Holland fight. Holy crap, man.
Turn into the All-American Ian Gary.
Yeah, no kidding.
All-American, All-American wrestler, not from America.
That's right. But yeah,
I mean, he got knocked out by Douglas Lima.
He did call out Della Maddalena, and I think Della Maddalena is probably tighter technically, but I don't think he's quite as explosive as Prates. So Prates very well could be.
Yeah, it's so hard to compare people to Michael Venom Page because it's such a different striking style. Stephen Thompson's lost a step a little bit, and he's obviously probably the most decorated based on that kickboxing record and everything. And I'm not digging into these guys. I shouldn't say decorated, but because I know someone's like, dude, what are you talking about? This guy won a world championship, which is probably true. So I probably misspoke, but there was a time where Stephen Thompson was the best. The problem is I've seen Stephen Thompson get dropped by guys. I've seen Stephen Thompson knocked out.
Exactly.
Right now, in the moment, people ask this question, who's the are you a big sports guy?
Sometimes.
Okay, so I'm a big sports guy. Ben's a sports guy. When we talked to Dev doesn't follow sports, so all my analogies go right over his head. But like I remember, I don't know, 5 years ago, people were talking about mentioning Patrick Mahomes being the best quarterback in the league, and people in New England were like going crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Tom Brady's won 6 championships, and I'm like, yeah, we're not talking about all the time. We're talking about right now. It's like the Islam Makhachev, John Jones argument where like, who's the best pump out fighter right now? It's Islam Makhachev or Alex Pereira. And then they start bringing up the people who want to argue for John Jones. Start bringing up his accolades, and he stopped so many champions, and it's like he beat Rashad Evans 150 years ago. It's like, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about right now.
Yes.
So right now, I think Carlos Prates is.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. I had to stop and think about it, running through it in my mind, but running through all the typical candidates, it's just his blend of power, explosion. He's not the best technician, but he's got enough technique that it's effective. So I think you're probably right.
Yeah, when we talk about the club a lot, we say who gets in the club, that's where we're not debating, spots and this and that, but we're just saying like if there's a club, there's a bouncer at the door for best strikers club, Carlos Prates is getting in.
Oh,
Alex Pereira is in there, and Izzy's in there, and different other guys are in there. But Carlos Pereira is getting in, and he's got a corner booth. He's got the bubbly out. He's got a nice spot. They're playing whatever hits he wants. The dude's an absolute stepper. I mean, it's 10 fights in a row with a knockout.
Mm-hmm.
And like Carlos, he's slowly moving up the rankings, and I mean, I expect him to get a pretty high ranked opponent next. But dude,
it should be noted 10 fights in a row, and he's not a heavyweight. He's at welterweight.
Yeah, welterweight. I mean, when we think about all-time great sniping strikers, they're usually middleweight and above.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the higher you go up, the more likely you get knocked out. Like when I think about the greatest knockout artists in UFC history, Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, those two guys come to mind. Obviously Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell. Who else am I thinking? Izzy, Alex Pereira, these guys. But when you get down to welterweight, Tyron Woodley had some pretty good highlights, but I don't think it was the greatest knockout artist ever.
Lawler.
Okay, Lawler. Yeah, you know what? That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. More of a brawling, not a sniper, but it's different style.
It's kind of a weird one because, like you said, he's more of a brawler, but he became a technical brawler towards the end, and we all acknowledge that Robbie Lawler was probably the scariest guy for about a 2-year period in all of MMA. I mean, he was during his title reign, he took how many people's souls? They were never the same after they stepped in the cage with him, and then after a while, he was never the same again either. But holy crap!
A guy that just came to my memory, and this guy it would be on the short list. Anthony Rumble Johnson when he was at light heavyweight, like that was someone that would be in it. Dev mentions Johnny Hendricks, which is so ironic. It's so funny that Johnny Hendricks is considered one of the biggest punchers in the history of the sport. Johnny Hendricks was an All-American. Not only he was a 2-time NCAA champion, almost a 3-time. His match against Mark Perry is one of my favorite matches in NCAA history. One of my favorite rivalries. Him and Mark Perry, really really fun. Iowa Mark Perry, really really fun rivalry back in. I don't know, what was that? 2008-ish range, maybe. I don't know. I could be off by a little bit, but
a little early, I want to say, but. Regardless, not too
far.
A
long time ago. Maybe that I might be a little late. It might be like 2006. But anyways, let me ask you, and obviously, I'm not projecting their entire career, but does Prates have a Izzy, even Alex Pereira type rise feel to him? Particularly Pereira, where he's fighting all the time. He doesn't really speak English. Brazilian knockout artist.
I don't think of him in those terms because when Izzy and Pereira both came into the UFC immediately strapped a rocket to their ass. Yeah. Pereira snuck up on us. So that's why I don't necessarily think of that. But at the same time, he's getting there. He's taking fights left and right. He wants to fight in, let's see here, how far away would the Australia in 3 months, and he wants to fight Jack Della Maddalena, and so that's in about a year, going from making your UFC debut to fighting one of the top contenders at welterweight on his home turf, and people are saying, yeah, I think he could win that. That's a hell of a rocket ride.
He might be a guy, and we'll get to matchmaking a little bit. He might be a guy that it's a hard time to find opponents for him because there's easier guys in the division who are, 1, ranked higher than him, and 2, has a bigger name value. That, like, if you're sitting there, and I don't know what he'll be ranked in the UFC rankings or the shirt, I don't know what he'll be if he's ranked in the Sherdog rankings. It'll be, 13, 14, 15, that range. But UFC might probably around the same. If you could fight Carlos Prates or Colby Covington. Colby's gonna be ranked higher. Colby's a much easier matchup. Even if you lose to Colby, like how you're going to lose to him. Good Colby shows up and he wrestles a lot and he has good cardio and he turns back the clocks a little bit. You lose to Carlos Prates, you're laying in the middle of the canvas like Neil Magny was.
Yeah.
And I would never say, we've talked about this before. Like I never accuse guys of being scared. Not this level. Jack Della Maddalena's not scared. I mean, that's a guy who's calling for fights with Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's like the other boogeyman in the division. What I like about him is he plays the long game. the way he strikes, he's not in a rush. He's very relaxed. Like even Michael Bisping was like, "Oh, you better start getting going." And then he's like, "Have you seen Prates fight? That's how he always is. He always is. It's like little slow starter." And then suddenly he just knocked out his opponent. Suddenly he found his range, he found his rhythm, he found his timing, and he is just a sniper. And you know who else was like that? Anderson Silva.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say
that. I'm not saying he's
that.
Anderson Silva. I'm not saying he's Anderson Silva. So don't come at me. But I'm saying he's Anderson Silva.
No, there's similarities there. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Not in the least, but and people forget that before Anderson Silva became yes, but before Anderson Silva became Anderson Silva, he suffered some losses too. Because there's a lot of people who are like, Prates has a bunch of losses, which is part of the reason why he snuck up on us. Yeah, but
that's true.
You go through that fire, you get a little bit hardened, and I think that Prates entered the UFC at the absolute right time for himself.
It's like the guys who aren't that excited about Diego Lopez because he had some losses early in his career. And remember Matt Hughes? Matt Hughes had those losses early in his career.
2 to Dennis Hallman.
Yeah, against that. Your boy Dennis Hallman, 2 losses. I don't want to go that far back, but yeah, I mean, look, don't just go by record. You go by record. Reinier de Ridder looks like a bum.
Oh yeah.
Reinier de Ridder is probably a borderline top 10, top 15 fighter of all time. The guy won the UFC title 6 times. Yeah, he won in 2 different divisions, and I was counting the interim.
5.
Yep. No,
I was counting. Yeah, you're okay. That's right. Okay, that makes sense.
I was counting the interim to try to make my argument sound a little better. Yeah. He won heavyweight 3 times. He won light heavyweight twice. There's another thing I like is Neil Magny has a tough style. Like he's going to be on the gas. He was on the gas to the ability, I think, at this point of Magny's career that he can be. I don't think he can be on the gas as he could have been 3-4 years ago. But he was like, he knew the avenue of victory. The avenue of victory was to close the distance, clinch, wrestle. Don't let him get off strikes, crowd the kicker, get in his face. He was trying. Prates showed really solid takedown defense. He didn't panic any position. Was pushing his head, framing.
He reversed the takedown.
Huh?
He reversed that first takedown that Magny was going
That's
for.
Right. That's right. So, talk to me about that. Like, I that makes me even more excited. Again, this isn't. He's not stuffing takedowns from, Spencer Lee or something like that. But he looked pretty good.
No, he looked very good. It's not just the fact that he got a takedown, but it's the fact that he's like, no, I'm not playing your game. Because at one point after he knocks Magny down, he's like, no, stand up. We're not doing this. We're fighting where I want to fight, which, a sign of intelligence. I get where people want to make a statement, and say, I'm going to beat you at your own game. But when it comes down to it, you're getting paid the same amount, whether you beat them their way or your way. So you're playing with fire if you want to play their game, because you may not get paid the same amount. You may end up losing, especially against somebody like Magny, because what Magny wanted to do was wear him down, and he was trying. He was trying to take him out there, wear him down, get him into the 4th and 5th round, because we don't know how Prates will do there. And Prates wasn't having none of that. So, very, very intelligent fight on his part. I'm a lot higher on Prates coming out of this event than I was going in, and I was pretty damned high on him before that. So,
that's exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. Like I was very high on him. The upside is through the roof. I expected this to happen, but actually watching it happen, you get that, oh shit, he actually did it. Like he is what I thought he was. This guy is. I mean, he's a long range sniper. It's incredible. You mentioned Jack Della Maddalena. He also mentioned Jeff Neal. People are throwing out Dev is going the loser of Buckley and Ian Gary. I think somebody else threw a name out there. I'll let you go. You're matchmaking. You're the ultimate supreme roulette, which means nobody gets a say. Nobody can say, no, I want to fight this guy. He's 3 months from. We don't do it that way because like we're not going to play with all this guy's traveling. This guy's got injuries. No one can say no. Dayne calls up. Who's the guy that you're calling up to fight him? Mine's going to surprise everybody. Mine's going to really surprise everybody. But I'm going to let you go first.
I ran through a bunch of names. I thought about Dev's suggestion. I did think about Jeff Neal. I thought about Michael Venom Page. I thought about Michael Morales. And ultimately, I'm like, you know what? He's been busy. He's been fighting plenty. And I think we're going to have a hard time finding people to match him up with. Give him what he wants. Let him fight in Australia. Give him Jack Della Maddalena.
Wow.
So
and that's
I'm fine with that.
Just checking the Sherdog rankings. What is Jack Della Maddalena? Which I always forgot who it was. The guy who shouts out that I vote on the rankings and don't know who's in my own rankings. Jack Della Maddalena is 6th in the Sherdog ranking, which is really high. Jeff Neal is one that people mention. Jeff Neal is not in our rankings, probably just outside. You mentioned Michael Morales, who's currently 15th. And our rankings is different because we add in other guys from outside.
Bellator, PFL, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that skews it a little bit. But so Joaquin Buckley was mentioned. He's sitting at 14. Ian Gary was sitting at 9. You're the highest one to throw somebody out at Jack Della Maddalena at 6. You guys are all wrong. You're all wrong. And it's not that you're too high. You're not high enough. I said this dude is the next Alex Pereira 4 times. He's rising. He's a star.
People are you saying next month?
People are saying Wonderboy. That's not high enough.
Are you saying that put him in there with Shafkat?
No. Well,
okay. Hey, there's an opening there.
I don't hate it. I like it more than Kamaru Usman. I like it more than Kamaru. Aren't you more excited for that fight than Kamaru Usman?
I would be, but if Usman's got the name value, so the UFC doesn't want that. But anyway, yeah, continue.
You don't get a title shot from beating Neil Magny. So that, I know they're talking about interim title shot with Shafkat and all that, and I'm not doing
Tell that to Joe Shoto making his UFC debut.
Yeah. And then they talked about I know there's possibly a catch weight fight with that, and there's a lot going on with that. And so he's not fighting Bilal Muhammad. I'm going. Bilal Muhammad's number 1. Who's next? Leon Edwards.
I'm good with that.
Versus Leon Edwards. Let's do it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense in my mind because we all know the UFC really doesn't like Leon Edwards. They only gave him the title shot against Kamaru because they had to. He'd beaten pretty much everybody else up to that point. So at this point, I think they'd rather use him as a stepping stone. And I'm not saying that he would be against Prates, but if he is, he's a hell of a stepping stone.
Oh my God! If Prates starts Leon Edwards, then I'm taking him on the title.
Yeah.
And Bilal Muhammad. I'll say this, and I picked this when I wasn't many people picking Bilal Muhammad over Leon Edwards. I think both me and Ben did. Bilal Muhammad's an issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And Bilal Muhammad, do you ever see those ones where they say maturing is realizing, and then they insert like some phrase?
Yeah.
Like maturing is realizing that Bilal Muhammad is an issue for everybody, including Shafkat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm not saying I'm picking him to beat Shafkat, but maybe. Neil Magny stuff because he's fought everybody.
Yeah.
What are you doing with Neil Magny?
Oh boy. He's lost 3 of his last 4. Taking a bit of a beating. Give him somebody else who's another vet. Find out where exactly he is. So I say throw him in there with the guy who was supposed to fight tonight but had to pull out, Nicholas Dalby.
Okay, we love Nicholas Dalby. I was seeing someone put on Twitter, and they were earlier this week. It was like maybe Monday or Tuesday or something. They were complaining about the UFC constantly feeding, they were complaining about this fight, saying, "Oh, Neil Magny, why are you always feeding Neil Magny to rising prospects?" And I'm like, if you think that's bad, you'd really hate me because I would constantly do that for every like veteran. Well, before their name is completely depleted until they're like where they're Andre Arlovski now, like, and it's like, okay, everybody knows he's done. It wasn't a good decision in his last fight, but Renat Fakhretdinov is on a run. I'm giving him Neil Magny. Let's move on. Let's move on because Jared Mearshart is Ben Duffy's favorite fighter, and a lot of people don't know too much about Dayne because he came over from Bloody Elbow. He's not on here a lot where we get to know him. But one thing I do know about Dayne is Dayne's favorite fighter is Reinier de Ridder. He's huge on Reinier de Ridder. He's got a poster of him. He loves his striking. He's always breaking down how great his striking is, his athleticism. Talk to me about your boy, his UFC debut, Reinier de Ridder. He got a third round submission win over Jared Mearshart.
Honestly, this outcome did not surprise me. There were a lot of people who thought that he was going to just kind of run over Mearshart because Mearshart's slow, he's old, never was a great athlete to begin with, and if you can catch him on the chin clean before he's really warmed up, he has a tendency of going out. So a lot of people thought that that's what was going to happen, but there's something about guys that have been champions in other organizations that come over with expectations, and when they get into the UFC, I'm not going to say they freeze, but they underperform. A couple of the more common ones that people know, Will Brooks, he won his debut and then washed out after that. Hector Lombard had a couple of good highlights. So I very much expected this type of performance from de Ridder. He clearly his takedown game has not really been built for what the UFC typically does. He's been fighting over and won. They don't have a lot of traditional wrestlers there. Very dependent upon trips.
Yeah.
And Mearshart was completely ready for that. Credit to him for it. He was able to reverse a lot of them. Even one where as de Ridder sold onto the trip, he actually went down and Mearshart just stood there. I thought that was kind of funny. But he's got a lot of adjusting to do to get used to the UFC, like particularly with the wrestling. I'm not going to say that he's going to wash out. I'm not going to say he's going to be a bum, but he's still got a learning curve that I don't think he was completely anticipating.
Yeah, it's funny. So on the previous show, I picked de Ridder to win. Ben called the upset in Jared Mearshart. And I almost feel like Ben got this one right and I didn't. Because the way Ben picked it, he picked that the weight cut was going to be an issue, that athleticism, that it wouldn't, he'd struggle at moments, that Mearshart would actually have the better stand-up. I picked no, this is the good stylist matchup. De Ridder's going to be bigger than him. He's going to take him down. He's going to be relentless. He's going to wear on Mearshart. He's going to lock in submission. In a box, you'd say, "Oh, Keith got the right. You got to even call the submission." But I don't feel good. I in fairness, I wasn't huge on de Ridder in one championship. I was never that impressive. To me, he was like a better Paul Craig. Where it's
that's a good comparison.
He's got jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu, let's be honest. Listen, all you really long time listeners and purists, turn off your volume for a couple seconds. We all know that jiu-jitsu is so overrated. We just know that. We just know that. That's we're not still in 1993. We know.
At this point, it is the worst base to have.
Yeah. Of the three major bases.
Yes. Good way to.
I'm not talking about freaking Taekwondo and Jeet Kune Do and whatever, but he's not a good enough athlete, and he kind of like a Mackenzie Dern, where the jiu-jitsu. Nice.
I thought that was great too.
I gotta put that one up. That was good.
Do it.
It's still real to me, damn it. Nice job. So I was never that high on him. I kind of felt like he always had the right opponents. He's an okay wrestler. He's relentless with it. He uses his size well. But he's such a bad athlete. Like I said, he reminds me of Mackenzie Dern. Like he can fight to the ground. He gets to fight to the ground. He's dangerous. There is some things to be impressive. Like he did gas out Jared Mearshot. Jared Mearshot's style is to gas you out and catch a submission even when he's losing. I had it 1-1 heading into the third round. Some people had De Ridder up 2-0, and I'm okay with that. But I had it 1-1. To dig deep and get a submission against Jared Mearshot shows me something. Like that, I think that is impressive. But this is a guy who was a 2-division champion. He should be making this fight look easy. So it's like kind of, UFC debut against a, always kind of a tough test in Jared Mearshot. Like I could see the argument for like, guys, you're being too hard on this guy. But then I'm also seeing on like, dude, if you're special, you should be running through this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the hater camp. And it seems like you're in the hater camp with me.
For the most part, yeah. There's a reason why we watch the fights. If we just go off of what we see on paper, then we'd be able to predict everything out right there. We watch the fights for a reason. So I'm not saying that the UFC should just sandbag him at this point. He won his fight. Maybe he learns what he needs to adjust to and does so effectively. But somebody at his age making the transition over at this point when he's been doing it a certain way for so damn long, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, let's see if it does, but I think it's unlikely.
How high do you think he has? I mean, is he a top 15 level guy? I mean, it's middleweight. It's middleweight.
Yeah, no, it is middleweight, but I think he ends up just on the outside of it. Like I think that he can probably get a fight against a ranked opponent. If he wins his next fight, I think he does. But I don't think he gets a number ultimately.
Yeah. He won't get a number after this fight, and I'm kind of with you. I'm looking at our top 15 rankings, and it's like, who would I favor him over? Play hypothetically. Tell me. I'm going to read you through our top 15. We call the other contenders category. So we don't really go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, but we count it there. There's 4 guys in the UFC, 1 guy not in the UFC. So I just read the 4 guys: Marvin Vettori, Roman Dolidze, Anthony Hernandez, Paulo Costa. Who you favor him over?
None.
No, kind of with you.
None.
Anthony Hernandez, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. Jay wanted me to do the Hani Baselis game. Juicex was asking for the Hani Baselis game. I don't know if you're familiar with the Hani Baselis game where we go up the rankings and tell us where to stop. I was baiting Dayne into that when he said I was hoping he'd say he's a top 15 guy just so I could prove to him that he wasn't. But he didn't take the bait. I was trying to bring everybody this. Ninja Kitty says, imagine if he taps Bo Nickel, all the purists would drink those sweet tears from it. Believe it or not, and I don't want to be like, if Bo Nickel fights that fight smart, he would actually smash him. I don't know if Bo Nickel would fight that fight smart. If Bo Nickel sprawled and threw his hand, he'd knock him out. But there is a natural tendency for Bo Nickel to go for takedowns. He's been doing it for 20 years. That's where De Ridder could catch him. Give me Bo Nickel 2 years from now, forget it. No way. Under no circumstance does he beat Bo. All right, so we didn't do the game I wanted to. I was trying to bait you in it, but you didn't take it. So
no.
Which is fair enough. Who are you matching him with?
Credit to Bob Chimpson. He actually beat me to it because I was going to say that I think Abus Magomedov's next good next step.
Oh, you're going way lower. You're being generous. What I want to do with him I don't want to call him a fraud because he's not a fraud. And
no, he's not a fraud.
I've been wrong about guys before. I'm always scared to feed guys with names to guys without names who don't have the upside. Like, because if you lose, your guy loses. If the Raider loses, you didn't make anybody. It's you know what I mean? Like,
Well, at the same time,
you wasted his name on the wrong person.
well, the UFC they're kind of in a win-win, because if he comes in and he makes some noise, then they can say, "Oh yeah, see, he's a great fighter." But if he comes in being a former one champion, not just former one champion, but former 2 Division 1 champion, and he's getting his ass stomped by guys at the mid-tier, they can say, "Yeah, see, their organization isn't nearly as good as ours."
Yeah, which is kind of funny because I really think they don't view one championship as a threat at all. I mean,
No, they don't.
Their numbers has been crashing, and because they would mention it over and over again on the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
While in the past, they haven't mentioned when you had a Bellator fighter come over, PFL fighter come over, they don't mention it. They'd say champion outside organization, things like that. And occasionally, Joe Rogan can mention Bellator because Joe Rogan can do what he wants. It's like
he can pick the president. It seems.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, sorry. I just had to throw that out there.
That was good. That was very good. I'm giving him Paulo Costa. And I'll tell you why. Paulo Costa needs to win. Like, bad. He's fun. He's such a fun guy. People like him. But he still needs to win. And if he loses, okay, now De Ridder did prove himself against someone good. Because, I mean, say what you want about Costa. I always thought he was a little overrated, but like, he's still good. Like, you beat him, that would be the best win of his career. Besides, even including the championships he won, that'd be the biggest one of his career. So I do Paulo Costa.
Makes sense to me. My thought process was 2 high-profile middleweights, at least when they were in other organizations. Kind of see which one at this late stage in their career can actually make a climb back up or climb up to the rankings. But I get what you're saying too, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, Dev is saying Costa would destroy De Ridder, and he probably would. But I will say this. We've said that before about matchups. I remember when Paddy Pimblett was first booked against Bobby Green, everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is the worst stylistic matchup. Bobby Green's going to smash him." And who knows? So
Paddy still hasn't lost in the UFC, so yeah.
All right, yeah, I know. He's say what you want. He's on a run. All right, so we'll probably go through these prelims a lot quicker. From this point on, the prelims are all over the place. There's no structure of why this fight is this high, this is that low. And then also thinking about the prelims, for the most part, the fights were over pretty quick. So there's not too much to talk about. Third from the top, Gaston Balones took on Cordevius Ramios. I apologize if I butchered his name. Ramios is a guy I kind of liked. Doing tape study, I was like, he just had fun style, like big slams, big power, slick arm bars. I don't think he was terrible in this fight because there was some back and forth moments. I think almost in every single round. I actually thought the first 2 rounds were kind of close, could have went either way. But I'm still like, wow, his stock has dropped because I thought Bolanos did the more damage. I thought there was some bad fight IQ, as Bob Simpson mentioned. Like he got a big slam, hard slam. I think he rocked him with a slam, and then he like jumps to an armbar, rushes in, and like, dude, I think that big slam he just ruined. But worse is, I mean, he was losing a lot of grappling exchanges with Bolanos, which is not really his game.
Yeah, no, Bolaños has a kickboxing background.
That's his style.
Yeah. If you're losing ground exchanges to Bolaños, that's a very bad sign. Entering the event, I was a little bit lower on Romius than you were. I'm not saying that you're wrong in the sense that fun style with slams and whatnot, but
no, I was wrong.
Undersized for the division, and so I'm like, I don't think that's going to translate very well into the UFC. So,
Dayne, you can say I was wrong. It's okay. You can say I was wrong.
No,
guys,
you're not wrong in the sense that he's fun. He is fun.
No, go ahead, say it. I know you want to say, Keith, you're wrong. It's the only fight on
About
that card
what?
I got wrong. Good, say it.
Is that the only fight you got wrong?
Yeah, it was. I went 10-1. But good, say I was wrong.
Shit.
Yeah, say I was wrong.
Okay, you were wrong.
All right, so guys, I'll be doing the rest of the show now. Shout out to Paris Lawless is teammates with Gaston. So congratulations to you and your team. Really good showing. It was cool when he talked about he's been waiting to tell his dad, thank you for all these years of hard work and sticking with him. Like, that's nice. As like a dad who has a son who wants the best for their children. Like, I was at a wrestling tournament today with my son and talking to him and studying and watching. There was a college one and stuff, like watching college kids. Oh, I see how he set that up and talking to him. Like, those are really important. So that was really nice. So very touching moment.
Agreed.
What else you want to say about this fight? I mean,
it was a fun fight.
It was fun. It really was. Are you feeling better about Bolaños moving forward? Like you liking him moving forward, or?
I like him better going forward, but at the same time, it's not like I had high expectations for him anyway. I thought that there's a good chance he could be cut after this fight. If he's not cut after this fight, he'll be cut after the next one. So the fact that he won is, means that I definitely have a higher opinion of him now. But
gave himself some rope. He gave himself some rope.
Yeah.
His back was definitely against the wall. So good to him. Speaking of putting people's backs against the wall, Jillian Robinson fought as she took on Luana Pinheiro, winning by unanimous decision. Let's talk about Pinheiro first. I want you to go back in the time machine. I know you're a guy that you've done long write-ups. You've had to dig into fighters. It's something you've done a lot. Well, how did you view Pinheiro when you first entered the UFC?
I wasn't that high on her.
Okay.
That's not to say that I thought she was a bum. She was somebody that I thought would probably dance on the border of the rankings, so dipping in and out of the top 15. She was able to get, I think she got as high as 10 in the UFC rankings. I can't remember 100% for sure, which was higher than I thought. But I also thought that she was kind of a fraud in terms of that number. What was her? Wasn't it Michelle Watterson? That was her. Yeah, Michelle Watterson was the best win that she's got. Yeah. But at the same time, that win came when everybody could clearly see that Watterson was on the downslope.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I didn't ever think she was really deserving of the number that the UFC gave her. And I think that she's been paying a price for that because they've been matching her accordingly with that number. And, she's now lost 3 in a row. First one, I've got it. First one, Amanda Hebas, then Angela Hill, and now Robertson. But to be fair to her, I was actually more impressed with her in this fight than I had been in the others. And a large part of that is because she didn't just completely gas after the halfway mark of the fight came and went. She was still fighting. She was still pushing for it. And I think it was a guillotine that she had Robertson in. So even though she lost, I'm higher on Pinheiro coming out of this than I was going in.
Yeah. I was much higher on Pinheiro than most people. I wasn't like, oh, she's going to win the title, but I thought she's pretty athletic. She reminded me of someone like a bigger Tisha Torres.
Okay.
Like if Tisha Torres had proper size, like very good athlete, moves well, flows well, kickboxing, like so work from distance, kicks, good hand speed, a little bit of judo background. See on the regional scene, she has some pretty fun throws and everything. So I kind of viewed a Tisha Torres like I could be maybe sixth, seventh best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't the fighter that I thought she was. She's just not. I do agree that there was some things I saw that I liked. She didn't gas out. I just think she did what she could possibly do best with what her limited skill set is because she has no power. So she can stick and move, but she doesn't hurt. So Robinson could still march her down, but never pay the price of they say pay the entry fee. I think she had a good strategy where she was a moving target, trying not to let Robertson time her up on her entries, kind of keep moving. She threw a lot of straight shots, which is a lot harder to duck under than if you wind up a little bit and load. But she still spent way too much time on the ground when she did get a takedown. It almost seemed like she withered. Like I can be good from distance and I can do that, but when Robinson closes the sound, it almost like she accepted that I'm getting taken down.
Yeah.
And no urgency to pop right back up or to stuff the head and whizzer and there'd be like a couple of seconds where she was like feeling bad for herself. Robertson, she doesn't make it look pretty.
Never.
And I'm not talking about her physical looks. I'm talking about just her style. I think she's very pretty, but
in that sense, I'm with you. But
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like it's gonna be, she's not a good athlete. Her entries are gonna be ugly. She's gonna shoot 10 times. She's only get 2 takedowns. She's gonna time 2 right and be lucky that she gets through. She never blasts through the hips. She never really chain wrestles well. But she's just gonna go. She's gonna wait for you to sit on a punch. She's gonna try to duck under it. She really telegraphs her entries, but eventually she's going to get you down. She's going to wear you down and do it. I've been wanting to see someone still at her age add skills, and they just haven't come. Her striking is still so flat-footed and slow, and I give her credit. She's done a pretty good UFC career. She's created a pretty good UFC career for someone with such limited athleticism and limited skills.
Yeah. No, she's a dog though, man. And that's the thing. That's why she has been able to win at the rate that she has won. She is just absolutely a dog. And to her credit, she knows what she does well. And she has game planned everything so that she can accentuate those strengths.
That's okay.
Sorry, there's my dog.
She's calling out Jillian Robinson. She's saying, "Dad, I have better stand up than Jillian Robinson."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jillian Robertson's awesome, huh, baby? Here, I'll put myself on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was trying to like matchmake her, and I'm like, she's fought everybody, and I was jumping around, and Enrad threw out Jillian needs Trevor Whitman. Absolutely, that's a good call. Definitely a good call. A chain of scenery, I think would not be a bad idea. I was trying to matchmake Jillian Robinson for a second because I mean she's on a run and she's a ranked opponent, and I really had a hard time. And then I said, you know what, Denise Gomez wins again, kind of deserves a step up. They're both on the same card. They're both on the same turnaround. I'm giving her, I'm having Robinson be the name in that matchup. I'm giving her Denise Gomez. What would you do?
I actually had that written down for a little bit, so we're thinking along the same lines. But ultimately, I did a little bit more looking up and down the roster, and I thought, you know what? Let's see what she can do with Lupi Godinez. I thought that would be a fun fight. So,
I know that should be. You know what the funny thing about it? I actually like that matchup a lot, and I'll tell you why. You have somebody like Jillian Robinson, who is not a very athletic woman. She's not a very skilled woman, but she knows what, like you said, she knows what she's good at, and she's going to put herself in that position. Then you have Lupi Godinez, who's an incredible athlete, incredibly skilled fighter, and will do everything in her power to lose a fight and not fight to her skill set. They're like polar opposites, them two. Before that, let's go. Let's move on. Before that, I will take my lumps. Dusko Todorovic was another guy, and I said this on the previous show that I liked him a lot in his offensive skills that I saw on the regional scene before he came to the UFC. Problem is I don't think he knows he can block punches because his defensive skills is terrible as he took on Monsar Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik won by first round TKO. Was this a good showing by Malik, or was this a bad showing by Todorovic?
At this point, that's kind of what we've seen out of Todorovic. I'd say that's a pretty basic performance out of him. So no, I think, don't get me wrong, Abdul Malik looked very good, but it does need to be taken with a grain of salt due to the fact that Todorovic is a bust at this point. I think that's pretty safe to say. But the thing that we need to remember with Abdul Malik, he's a wrestler. And he came out there and he was completely dominant on the feet against Todorovic. So even though the quality of opponent I don't think is that great, I do think that something needs to be said for the way that he won, because that's not what we expected out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a pretty solid prospect. I mean, he's 7-0. He's kind of new to MMA, learning on the job. I like his, he's got an 80-inch reach. He's shown great power, great ground and pound. He has a wrestling background. I mean, he wrestled at University of Maryland before they were Division I. I think they were still, I think they were Division II then or something. They recently moved to Division I. Actually, I think the program left for a while, though they came back. So it's like, he doesn't have this huge, pedigree. It's not Steve Bacco coming in, or something like that. But I always like to put you and Dev and Ben. I kind of give you the two options, and then I say, well, it's somewhere in between. That's where it is. Like, I think it's a little bit both. I think Todorovic he's the right guy if you want to have a good showing, because the way he loses in like spectacular fashion. Not many people have beaten Todorovic. If Todorovic is a decision, he's probably, weathered an early storm. Then he grinded, he wrestled, and he wins, kind of an ugly affair. But if you beat him, it's you're knocking him out. And I think that's what happened here. Add in, fun, athletic guy and Abdul Malik. Yeah, I'm really excited about this guy moving forward.
Yeah, no, he was actually one of my favorites coming out of Contender Series this season. So yeah, I think he's got a hell of a future in him.
Before that, Karolina Kowalkiewicz took on female fighter that we just talked about, Denise Gomez. Gomez winning by unanimous decision. I talked about Pinheiro not having any power and not really making people pay the price. I mean, say everything I said about Pinheiro and adding Karolina Kowalkiewicz and even less athleticism. She was always peak of her was volume, technical, distance striking. Now it's same story, but slow down skills, slow down speed, less power. And I don't think it was a great showing by Gomez. I mean, it's a big win. But she's super young. I think she's like 24. So there's some things to like about her moving forward. Some fight IQ issues. I mean, she hurt Kowalkiewicz early, and then she started clinching with her. And I shouldn't say hurt, but she had some moments like she was landing when she was throwing combinations. She was doing well, but she spent way too much time clinching. And in an era, she really wasn't winning. I mean, she was controlling, but I think she could have really ran away with this if she just kept standing on the outside and striking with her, because she was having when she blitzed in, she was having a lot of success landing shots. Talk to me about both these fighters real quick.
I don't want to throw Kowalkiewicz under the bus.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. I have 3 kids. It's all good, man.
Trust me. I don't want to throw.
You trust me, dude. It's the best age right now.
Yeah,
that's the best age.
Yeah, she's my little fight buddy. Fun note: when she was less than 24 hours old, I showed her first knockout because it was live. It was Jai Herbert knocking out. Kama Worthy. So, in other words, she's been getting this as soon as she was born. Anyway, and it sounds like, I mean, I'm listening to her speak. It sounds like she could draft a better fantasy team than both Dev and Jay did. So, I think you might be right. We'll get you into that someday, huh? Anyway,
ask her who she has: John Jones or Stipe Miocic.
You like John Jones? You like Bones or Stipe? Bones or Stipe? Bones.
She's going with the chalk.
She's a smart kid.
You should ask, do you like Bones or Fireman?
Bones or Fireman? Fireman. Anyway.
What would you do with I already booked Gomez versus Jillian Robertson. You didn't mind that one, but what would you do with Denise Gomes?
With Gomez, I actually pit her against Tisha Pennington. I think that Pennington would do a lot of the same things that Kowalkiewicz does, but I think she would do them better. And given that Gomez, like you already said, this wasn't exactly the best win for Gomez, so I think giving her a step up in Pennington like that, I think would be very revealing. Good learning opportunity for her. So yeah.
Yeah, and she's tricky. So I mean, obviously,
yes.
and I know her last name's Penning. I still used to call her Torres, so I apologize.
I struggle with that too, man. You're not the only one. But in terms of Kowalkiewicz, I'll give her all the credit in the world because I thought that she was finished several years ago. You know, she came out, she had that 4-fight win streak, and even though she lost tonight, it's not like she overperformed the betting lines. We'll put it that way. I think she still has something in the tank if the UFC wants to continue to use her as a gatekeeper. So,
before that, Alessio Selesky dos Santos was supposed to take on Nicholas Dalby in the fight that one of the fights that I was most excited about. I thought that would absolutely add Nicholas Dalby into any fight, and it's exciting. Add Alessio Selesky dos Santos to any fight, and that's exciting. You give me both. I expected that to be really good. Unfortunately, Dalby couldn't fight. In came on very short notice Zach Scrogan, Marathon MMA. That is Ben's team. That might be the real reason why Ben didn't show, because that is Ben's team. He loves marathon. Listen, he's been right a lot on that team. He's been backing him before it was cool. Everyone's got to run in the litter, I guess, because I mean Zach Scrogan hit him in he just got ran through. I mean, it was terrible. He got leg kicked a couple times, and then one point it seemed like he just turned his whole body, just like, all right, punch me in the face. and as soon as he got hit, he went down. I mean, is this exactly how you saw it? I know I didn't do tape study real quick, but and it's always tough. Like, yeah, what do you expect from a guy coming in really short notice? But is there anything to take from this fight?
I hope and pray it's an aberration because, you know, like you said, Scrogan did not look good. There are reasons to believe that he is better than this. He took the fight on very short notice, and he's a 6'3" welterweight. So I can only imagine that weight cut was hell for him to try to get down to 170. He didn't make it.
Yeah, he missed it.
But yeah, but regardless, I think that he probably just killed everything that he had in him just trying to make weight. And so I'll attribute his poor performance to that and pray that he's got more to offer going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this was when it comes to like late replacement, poor performances, I mean, this is the worst one I've seen since Kamala Harris. All right, sorry. I said I'd be done. I gotta get slide one more. Ben's not here, so. Before that, Matthew Semmelsberger took on Charles Radke. Charles Radke winning, Chuck Buffalo, one of our favorite nicknames on the Shillan and Duffy show, Radke winning by first round TKO. Same question: was this a solid win for Radke, or is this more Semmelsberger's shot?
Semmelsberger's definitely shot.
Yeah.
You know, and he hasn't been fighting that long, 19 fights, but at the same time, he played college football. He was all conference at his school. I want to say he went to Marist, so it's not like it was Division I, but still, you have a lot of high collisions that way, and your chin's going to start to wear out. So I think that's probably what's doing the damage for him. And I'll admit Radke's better than what I thought he was when he first came in. Because I thought the UFC was trying to get Blood Diamond to win when they brought in Radke, but he's proven to be better than that. He's hanging around. He's getting some wins. So yeah, I still say more Semmelsberger shot, but good on Chuck Buffalo.
Yeah, I kind of jumped off the Semmelsberger bandwagon when he lost Alex Morano. Like, to me, that was a really bad performance, and he's just looked so bad since. I mean, I go back to some fights he had. I think of oh god, what's his name? Super explosive guy. He fought here in the original scene so many times. It doesn't matter. Some guy took some life from Semmelsberger. I do think the stoppage was a little early, but to me, it is safe. 1 or 2 punches. like, yeah. I mean, it's like the best thing that happened to Semmelsberger, because now you can say, "Dude, watch this. I wasn't even that hurt. I was, you know." But instead of being like about to be put out cold, I think Chuck Buffalo was going to put him out cold.
Jeremiah Wells is who you were looking for.
Jeremiah Wells, Jeremiah Wells. There was a time when Semmelsberger was the guy like where Jeremiah Wells would wrestle instead of striking it out, because that's the kind of threat that Semmelsberger was. Fast forward a couple years later, and Semmelsberger is getting blasted by Chuck Buffalo. How do you feel about Chuck Buffalo moving forward? I like him a little bit more. Like, I'm definitely not gonna say he's a contender, especially on that division, but
I like his
he was a
attitude.
guy that,
I mean, he called the whole damn division bitches.
yeah. I was trying to tiptoe around that, because I was going to use that in the dude seriously, in a good dude seriously, like.
Oh, that's that very good dude. Seriously,
I love it. Bunch of bitches.
we shouldn't be surprised. Like, after he beat Blood Diamond, what slur? I can't remember. It was in Australia. But, okay, it was the F slur. We'll leave it at that. But he called the whole crowd that too, so we shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Before that, Cody Stamann took on Damon Blackshear. Same question: is Cody Stamann shot, or Damon Blackshear really that good?
I think if this was the version of Stamann that was fighting the likes of like Aljamain Sterling, I think he beats Blackshear, but Stamann hasn't been the same for a long time. Like, when he was fighting Sterling, he was actually still wrestling. He stopped wrestling a few years ago, and he hasn't been able to beat anybody of quality since then. So I feel like Stamann's been shot for a while. He's just been able to get some favorable matchups and get some wins to remain hanging around.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. His wrestling game is pretty much gone at this point. He's still a pretty solid boxer. The problem is you stole a lot of this guy's tools. Like, you're bringing a car to the mechanic, but half his tools are stolen. Just certain things he can't do anymore. And I kind of feel like that's what he was Stamann. I like Blackshear. Fairness, when we say Stamann was shot, I think like a flying switch knee to the head might knock out anybody. So I'll give him a little bit of pass on that. And Blackshear, I think we've talked about this before. He's a slick grappler. He's a really slick grappler, and especially when you have a guy hurt. The way he sunk in the running chuck was really pretty. Blackshear has some loss in the UFC. They're two good guys, though. And, I think he'll become a ranked opponent? Maybe. Like, I could see him as lower top 15 kind of guy. And that's a really tough division to say that in. So, before that, Tresean Gore returned after previously supposed to be going against Bo Nickel. Instead, he waits about 2 years later, and he fights Antonio Tricoli, winning by first round sub. Caught him in a quick stand-in guillotine. That's back-to-back fights. I mean, I said jiu-jitsu is dead, but Tresean Gore is telling me why I'm wrong. Talk about this.
Well, that's because jiu-jitsu only works if it's not your base. Like, jiu-jitsu is Tricoli's base, so if you're going to use it on him, you're going to catch him by surprise. So I guess the only people he's beating are the exes of his girlfriend at this point. So,
the one thing I will say about Tresean Gore is he's had flashes of where he's looked brilliant. So I don't think he's the guy that was hyped up when he came out of the Ultimate Fighter show, but I don't think he's the guy that people completely gave up on either. So yeah, I like Gore moving forward.
No, the UFC needed to do a slow walk with him, and as much as I hate to say it, the 2-year break may have actually been good for him. Give him some more time in the gym, give him some more time to work on his overall game, because he was so green when they first brought him in. So I think that was probably a blessing in disguise. And yeah, they can still kind of continue to take baby steps with him. So, good on him.
And before that, Melissa Mullins took on Claudia Seigel, Melissa Mullins winning by second round TKO. Wow. Like I mentioned, I was at a wrestling tournament. There was youth kids, all kinds of stuff. I remember early we were watching these two little girls wrestling. They were probably, oh my God, they might have been 5 years old. They were so small, so small, cute little kid. They're at the age which I love when you go to a wrestling tournament. I don't know if have you been into like you've been on youth sports and stuff.
Yeah.
Like youth combat sports are different. It's different. Like say what you want. Like losing a wrestling match crushes the kid's spirit worse than striking out in Little League. It's different. There's a peak. Like the peak crying is like 7, 8 years old. Like every single match where a kid loses a 7, 8 year old, the loser cries. Just what happens. They still cry a little bit at 8, 9, and 10, but it starts a little less. By 11, you're like, oh, dude, you shouldn't be crying if you lose. 12, 13, like no more crying. But there's it's like a pyramid or like a peak, I should say, because at like 4 and 5, they're not crying yet. Like they don't know what's going on. They're like happy, they're smiling. They get put to the back the whole time. They hold on. They don't even know if they're getting pinned. Like that's what happened with these two. I was watching these two girls wrestle. I think these girls that I was watching, these 2 5-year-old girls wrestle, I think they had better takedown defense than Claudia Seigel. I mean, it was her wrestling defense is hard. I mean, at one point, Melissa Mullins just like grabs her and just like, I don't know what it. Never mind. This is a PG show. We got Dayne's kid in the room. She went down like. I mean, it was bad how easily there was a time she went down. It wasn't a takedown. She just hugged her and then she fell. Yeah. Her defensive wrestling looks like she's like 6-year-old on learning to ice skate for the first time. It's so bad.
So I could see the UFC wanting Segula to do well given her side gig. But yeah, and she's also fairly young in the sport. She doesn't have a hell of a lot of experience. I believe that they have the same amount of professional fights, but Mullins has definitely been doing this longer. But
Mullins is at least somewhat good at one thing, and that's takedowns and controlling and ground game. Seigel, no. And the most exciting moment of this fight was them talking about how long it was taking Melissa Mullins to get to the cage. Like she was walking really slow. And I was like, well, she's not going to run the cage because if she ran, she would have made weight. So you guys have it. We've covered. Did anything else you want to say about that fight?
It was a lower level women's bantamweight fight. We got what we should have expected out of it. So
yeah. And like I'm not like being high on Mullins. Like she might have lost the first round anyway. So to one of the worst fighters in UFC history. So all right, let's get to the fun stuff. We have the Bulls, the Bears, the cut list, the Dude Seriously, the awards. Do you want to be positive or negative?
Let's go with the positive.
All right. Let's get to the awards. Let's see if we have the awards. My man Jay Petrie did come through with the awards. We have 4 performance bonuses. Do you know them? Do you know what they are?
I do not. Would you like me to guess?
This is usually how me and Ben do it. I usually guess, but I'm gonna let you guess. You can have do this. Don't guess. Don't guess what you think the UFC is. I want you to give me 4. You're the boss. You're writing the checks. What are the 4 performances? We'll throw it to the chat too if you guys want to throw out what you do. Give me your 4 performance bonuses.
For sure, got to give one to Prates. His you don't faceplant Magny that way. I'll probably go with Abdul Malik as well. Probably Dos Santos and Blackshear.
So you had 3 out of the 4. I agree with the ones you said: Prates, Blackshear, and Abdul Malik. Those you got. I mean, Dos Santos. I mean, it was obviously really good performance. He ran right through his opponent. That's not who they gave it to. I agree with you. See, I would have gave it to the guy, the 4th guy. Actually, I would have gave these 4. The guy that you didn't name is the guy who called for the money the most. Chuck Buffalo gets the knockout and then calls everyone a bunch of bitches. Pay that man. So
I have no problem with that one.
Yeah, not bad at all. Let's go do it seriously. I'll tell you, I don't have a lot to do seriously. Like I said, I was at a wrestling tournament, got home a little late, so I had to do like fast forward and stuff during the like the commercials and stuff. I don't fast forward through the actual action, but because of that, I'm fast forwarding through the entrances and different things like that. So I didn't. That's a lot where I get a lot of my favorite dudes seriously. So I'll give you a couple of mine. Getting a black belt for winning by punches, I never understood that. Dude, seriously. I mean, maybe why do we assume that it was a black belt in jiu-jitsu though? Maybe it was a black belt in Taekwondo or something else.
My favorite was when they gave Randy Couture his black belt for manhandling James Toney. I mean, really? Blue belt could have manhandled James Toney.
Oh, I know. I will say this about Jay. I give that guy respect, like for being a top boxer and like fuck it, he tried. It's
no, same with CM Punk. He came and he got his ass whooped like a man.
Absolutely, I give CM Punk a lot of credit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but yeah, no, he got his ass whooped like a man. Credit to him.
Yeah, Kimbo. I mean, Kimbo Slice was another guy I would give credit to. I love when you go, you talk to kids, you talk to you talk to the people and they like brag about their kids like getting belts in like Taekwondo or Kempo karate and shit. Can I tell you how fucked up my brain is? This is how my brain works. Shout out to the people who listen to the chat. We'll have to cut this out for those not listening live, so I don't want this spread. Anytime I'm talking to somebody and they tell me about their kid, like winning, my son got a freaking yellow belt in Kempo karate, or he got his freaking 3rd tape on his blue belt, and I always think, oh, your 9-year-old son is a brown belt in Kempo karate. Yeah, my son would walk into school and be a white belt and absolutely fucking maul your kid. Fucking maul your kid with wrestling takedowns. And is that bad that I'm doing like Fight Club with my 9-year-old son?
I totally get where you're coming from on that one, dude, because like I was not an athletic kid, like I'm a tall son of a bitch. I'm about 6'4". People always ask, did you play basketball? I'm like,
you don't have to be athletic.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like, yeah, God made me tall, and then he stopped there and started laughing at me. So I didn't really do a hell of a lot of that stuff, but no, I figured out around 10 years old that the kid with the wrestling background was the scariest one out of all the kids at school. You didn't mess with them. If kid knew karate or whatever, you could still probably whip his ass. You weren't whooping the ass of the wrestler.
No. I know high school wrestlers, straight kids in high school. I'm part of a really good team that could kick the shit out of a grown man. Absolutely kick the shit out of a grown man. Like, no doubt in my mind. Anyways, so there you go. My son fight club. Like, I've thought about bringing my son to like Kempo karate. Like, dude, just kick the shit out of the whole school right now. Just to show freaking sensei fucking whatever guy that he doesn't know. He's like, I look at him like he's a freaking fraud, like stealing money from little like people. The worst thing, I don't just do it. Dude, I'm so fucked up with the brain. I don't just do it in like combat sports. Like, my son will, like, he just started playing soccer because of my wife. Like, he really enjoys it, but and he's my son's a very good athlete. Like, he's very athletic. He scored a goal in the championship and stuff. But like, there's travel kids on the team who are better. Obviously, they play travel. They do it year round, and my son doesn't. And this is the shit I say to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, that kid's really good." And I'm like, "He's better than you?" He's like, "Yeah, he's better than me." And I go, "Yeah, but Robbie, like, you would kick the shit out of him. Just remember that. You could beat his ass." Like, that's what I do. Like, I tell my 9-year-old son that he could beat up his freaking teammate. So, anyways, and that's all I had. My other one was welterweight division is bitches. Do you have any dude seriouslys?
The only other dude seriously that I had was learning that the 12 Days of Christmas is out there for public domain.
Yeah, that's
really. I was sitting here thinking, dude, it's not even Christmas season, and we've got to be learning about that right now. What the hell? But you know what? I kind of get a kick out of the random facts that they pull out of their ass during some of those moments. So I'm not going to complain about it, but that is kind of a, dude, seriously? That's where we're going with this conversation?
And shout out to all the parents who have their kids in like Kempo and whatever. Listen, that's fine. If you want your kid to get athletic and you want your kid to learn discipline, you want your kid to show respect, like sure, cool, like, great, like, more power to you. Like, I support all that. But when you're ready for them to learn life skills, come over, bring them over to the wrestling room. So, sorry.
Yeah, no, we were talking strictly about who would whoop whose ass. It had nothing to do with whether or not it's bad for the kids to take it. So
Ben Cooley said, I'm going to disagree. Ben Cooley says any martial arts is better than that. I disagree. I'll tell you why. Martial arts that don't work gives you a false sense of confidence, and then you put yourself in bad situations. Get your ass kicked. People who don't do martial arts and know they can't fight is better than someone who can't fight and think they can.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Okay. He's amended it. Give him credit.
All right, he said real martial. Okay, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's do the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears are stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be on the Bears list. We do it hockey style, 3, 2, 1. Let's keep it positive. You said you want to be positive, so you want me to list. I'm going to go first. Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, my number 3. It wasn't pretty, but Jillian Robinson. She's won 3 in a row. She was a favorite. She's on the main card. She's going to get a big fight moving forward. She's talking about. I love her perspective. She's like, I want to fight for a title, in years from now. And I'm like, the way she said it, I was like, you know what? I love that she knows that she's nowhere near it and she's not skilled enough, but she's like, has like a long-term goal. It sucks that a long-term goal is not going to happen, but hey, I've been wrong before. My number 2, Denise Gomez. She's 4-1 in her last 5 fights in the UFC. She's only 24 years old. That's what I like most about it. She's got the right team. She's got a hot team. She fights. She wants to fight like Jessica Andrade. That's extremely hard to do, but she's got her right there to help her. Denise Gomez. And my number 1, it's got to be the guy in the main event. Carlos Prates, 10 knockouts in a row. I'm calling him Anderson Silva and Alex Pereira. His stock is through the roof. Dayne, who do you got?
So I didn't put Prates on there because I anticipated you would. I did have Jillian Robertson. The other one I had was Damon Blackshear. Thought that was a hell of a rebound to come back from getting starched by Montel Jackson in his previous fight. So there were a lot of people who were down on Blackshear, and I think his performance proves that was an aberration. And even though I'm with you on this next one, the UFC gloves. They've been getting a lot of crap lately because people said that knockouts have completely dried up, but no, they're a bull this time around. We had a lot of quick finishes, so I think that it was a good night for those.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's go to the negative. These are the bears. You do not want to be on this list. I'll let you go first.
Kind of along the lines of figuring you would pick Prates for a bull. I put Neil Magny as a bear. Just poor guy. I feel bad for him, but he's lost 3 out of his last 4. He's been getting bowled over when he does lose. He's not completely shot. He's not done as a fighter, but I don't think he's going to have a number next to his name again at this point. Number 2, we already discussed the fact that he maybe have a reason for it, but that was as piss poor of a debut as you can have for Zach Scroggin. So hopefully he's got more to offer than what he showed. And third bear, even though I feel like she's a better fighter than coming out of this and walking in, that's 3 losses in a row for Pinheiro. That's not good for somebody that the UFC thought they could be something special. But yeah, 3 in a row. She's definitely a bear.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Had obviously had a lot of hype, and then she lost to Joanna, and then she bounced, win one, lose one kind of situation. Then people completely gave up on her, and then she won this streak where she won 4 fights in a row. So I get some buzz about her. Now that's over again. She's now dropped back-to-back fights. People are saying she's kind of washed up. So I think Karolina Kowalkiewicz, her stock has really dropped. My number 2, kind of the same thing. He's 35 years old, not in the right division. Cody Stamann. I mean, he's lost 2 in a row. He's lost 6 out of 8. There was a time where he was like fringe contender. Using that kind of loosely, but those days are long gone. He's more now like fighting for his spot on the roster than kind of being he's not even a gatekeeper anymore to the division, top of the division. And my number 1, how about this? We had a lot of finishes in the card. The female fights went 0 for 2. So female finishers stock dropped because we didn't get any finishes from the females tonight. So
no, we did. Mullins.
Oh shit! I didn't count that fight. Yes, you know what? You're right. All right, fine. Yeah, you know what? Fine. I'm gonna take that one out. You're right. I was gonna say relevant, but you're right. I completely skipped over that fight in my brain. Matthew Semelsberger, the guy who is kind of he was an exciting guy where he's knocking dudes out. 2 knockouts in under 20 seconds. He's now lost 4 fights in a row. Which leads me to the cut list. The cut list, if both me and Dayne say the UFC can get rid of this person, they are gone. But it has to be both of us. I got 4, and my first guy is Matthew Semelsberger. 4 in a row. Did you have Matthew Semelsberger on your list?
Semelsberger is on my list.
I didn't ask you. How many people do you have on your list?
3.
All right. Throw me a name.
Todorovic, for sure.
Yep, Todorovic was on my list. 2 losses in a row. 3 out of 4. 5 out of 7 losses in a row. Give me one more name.
Stamann.
He was on my list. 3 in a row. 6 out of 8. So the person you are saving, I'm getting rid of Antonio Tricali. 0-2 in the UFC. But you saved him. I mean, one of his fights was really short notice, so I understand some logic behind that. Let's go to the grade of the card. What was your grade?
If I'm going on what I expected, this is definitely an A. But if I've got to temper that, because I didn't expect much out of this card. It definitely over delivered. But overall, it's still at least a B plus, just because there was a lot of really good action, a lot of fun finishes. There were a couple that, even though it was a good win for Gomes, it was kind of blah. So I'm going to say a B plus.
Yeah, that's exactly how I had it. Like there was a lot of fun finishes. The prelims was absolute fire. But yeah, again, I want you to give me stuff to talk about. I mean, after the top two fights, I mean, it was really dropping off. So I feel like B+ is the best you could do. So, but overall, very, very fun, fun night. Hardest question always, Dane, put you on the spot. Who's your listener of the night?
Oh, really? Thank you. Well,
And right now, they all love you. Listen. I've picked many times, and they can hate me. If you don't pick them, they hate you. Now every one of them loves you.
well, I will say that the guy that goes by Dev Goes Fishing is kind of a douche. He's definitely not. No, all of the regulars out were out in Storm. You know, they did really well. So I'm trying to find somebody that I'm not too familiar with. Let's see here, because Marcus Mustard was there, Ninja Kitty was there, Bob Chimpson was there. I'm going to say Pope. Pope had a couple of really good liners in there. He didn't have a lot, but he was a real sniper. He made what he threw out there count.
He was a Carlos Prates of the night.
Yeah.
So I will give Paris Lawless I had that name. I'm assuming it's a guy. I apologize if it's not. I had that guy's name written down. I mean, had some good content, good comments. Teammate fought and won, pulled off the only upset on the card. His teammate Gaston Bolonis. So really good night until the show was invaded with Dayne's kid coming in. Had a lot of good content. Went on a limb, played the fence, picked John Jones to beat Stipe Miocic. Then also said Stipe Miocic is going, which I like that strategy. I've tried to do it myself, taking both sides. So my listener is I don't want to ask your name because I don't want to put it out there publicly, but the young lady that is Mr. Fox's kid, you are my listener of the night. She has no idea what's going on, but maybe like 10 years from now, she could look this show up and get her award. So
yeah, we'll see if she becomes a regular. I hope not, but you never know.
So there you guys have it. We have recapped UFC Vegas 100 times in the Apex. I'm sure there's been more than that, but the ones that they were counting on as the Apex card. So we'll be back. UFC, what is it? 309, New York City.
Yes, sir.
It's a big one. Both me and Ben will be previewing. It's a pretty loaded card. One of the fighters on the card is the greatest fighter of all time. Of course, I'm talking about Bo Nickel. But some people will mention John Jones. I'm going to put you on the spot. John Jones, Stipe Miocic, who wins?
Jones.
Okay. Give you another one. There was talk about John Jones. He mentioned Alex Pereira as he might stick around, fight Alex Pereira. Obviously, Tom Aspinall's name thrown out there. You can only pick one fight. Which fight would you rather have?
Personally, Aspinall.
Okay, fair enough. And I will be in New York City. I'm still trying to figure out my schedule. I'm hoping to be there for media day. I'll definitely be there for fight night. So I'm going to try my best to ask John Jones the tough questions. But me and Ben will be previewing UFC 309. It'll be out early Sunday morning, so make sure you check that out. Return next week for the recap show right after the event. And thank you guys for listening to this one.